Hi, I'm Brian Shillibeer from This Week in FM. Here today with Lewis D'Souza from NFS Technology. The company has produced an informative white paper, the subject being technology and the multi-generational workplace.
Let's start with the tourist, the person at the end of their career, probably working part-time, probably 3 to 4% of the workforce. But significant. Then the baby boomer generation is probably one of the biggest generations within that workplace today, representing over 30%. Generation X, who also are a very large part of that workforce today. Generation Y, we all know, came to the workplace a few years ago, representing now probably about a third of the workplace. And the final one, but not to be missed, is Generation Z. In some cases, people who maybe done a year at university and are coming in for work experience. They are in some ways the most interesting of the generations because they come with a lot of surprises. Some of the differences are actually quite surprising. You would have thought maybe the baby boomer generation were less in some way keen to use and adopt some of the new technologies. That's not actually necessarily the case. So when we were doing this research and when we were talking to clients and talking to some of our own employees, we found that some of our assumptions about the way people consume, people want to use, people are comfortable with, were not actually correct. At the very start of the scale, the youngest generation, they're almost constantly on their mobile devices, and you notice that from the way they work. They're very good at multitasking, actually. Generation X is equally good at some of those things, but they very often look at the younger generation and think, are they actually working? Just because they happen to be on their mobile devices, they are not necessarily not working.
So again, there's some challenges there, and some big challenges for businesses to harness that, but also to make sure that that communication is going on, because...
Well, that's the way they work. I think if you accept that is the way that the younger generation interact, because they're interacting with each other, they're communicating, they're exchanging ideas. The fact that they're on their mobile devices doesn't mean that they're on Facebook or they're necessarily engaged in social chatter. I think the important thing is that they actually are very good at multitasking.
But I think there always has to be an outcome, and the best way to explain this across those generations is the outcomes. What would you expect the outcome of those 5 generations using technology, perhaps in different ways? How does a business harness that?
Let's look at the way they consume technology, firstly. The first thing is just accept them the way they are. To a large degree, you're not going to be able to have significant step changes in that. I think you can make technology easier for the generations that maybe have not got the same experience and comfort level. But I think we just have to accept those generations as they are and be accommodating of the fact that one generation, Generation X, will be very email savvy. Most things are documented and sent by email. Generation Y, on the other hand, probably don't use as much email. They'll send a quick text message, they'll confirm things in a different way. And, provided we accept that that's the way they communicate, that's not what we should be worrying about. Are they getting their job done? Are they effective at what they're doing? Are they collaborating across the generations? I think those are the important questions rather than how they're consuming technology or what their comfort level is with the different technologies, which at the end of the day is based on their experience. Generation X grew up with email. Email was the first digital form of communication that they were exposed to. So they're comfortable with that.